Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am ManyNinjas. Welcome to the first official episode of Retro Ninja Gaming. On this particular premiere episode, we're going to be starting off with a Romhack by the name of Rockman 4 minus Infinity. Which, in order to give you an idea of what you to expect from this particular game, take your standard Rockman 4 or Mega Man 4, depending on which region you're in, throw in a bunch of Game Boy Mega Man game elements, an odd fixation on Channel Man, and various other odds and ends that will be popping up as the game goes along. Heading into the action, we're going to begin with the first robot master I'm going to tackle for this particular series, Drill Man. Just to give you an idea on some of the changes that have occurred on this particular game, first of all, you're not going to see me use the charge shot a lot. The reason for this is because the charge shot, while being given a new animation, has been made effectively useless due to how low the damage is at this point. If you really want to get any damage done, you're better off just rapid firing the buster. Oh, just to comment on it, if I had not accidentally blown up that little block there, it would lead to an alternate path through the stage, which I'll probably be showing on a later video. The next thing, Mega Man's invulnerability frames have been significantly reduced. So that means while you have a brief moment in order to try to navigate against some obstacles or just try to get out of the way from the fire, you don't have that much time at all. And while we're on the first route, you're already at the first mini-boss. Now, for this particular mini-boss, the only thing which honestly makes him difficult at all is that he has a small hitbox. There you go, you're going to have a harder time hitting him. But in this case, because my aim seems to be particularly terrible during this particular recording, this thing takes a lot longer than it really should have. While we wait for me to eventually reassert my aim and get on with the rest of this aid, I'll just list off a few other things which will be appearing on this particular ROM hack that you wouldn't see in the in Rockman 4 Vanilla, for example. First thing off the top of my head, you're going to be seeing a lot more different power-ups that'll be going on there, which will be acquired either through finding them throughout the stages, or through certain other means, which I'm not going to elaborate too much on until we reach a point for me to actually get them. Also, you'll be seeing a lot more mini-bosses like this one, which are basically upgraded enemies of sorts, among other things. And thankfully, with this mini-boss gone, we can now proceed with the rest of our stage. One of the few things I'd have to say I don't happen to like about Minus Infinity is that at times there seems to be an artificial difficulty spike due to things like the invulnerability frames being reduced, or the fact that while you happen to have more hit points for your enemies, and they do a bit more damage to you, you have been saddled up with a Mega Buster that has a very weakened charge shot, and quite frankly might as well be made out of the same foam that they use for the cancelled Mega Man Universe games. Fortunately, there are enough good points about Minus Infinity that you'll really enjoy yourself when you keep playing. And while we're in this particular spot here, I should mention that now Eddie can now toss in items like 1-ups and E-tanks out there, and that every now and then you have a hidden room with some extra power-ups. Unfortunately, since I don't have Rush Coil, I can't get that one last E-tank right now. The next little mini-boss here is another real case where you don't want to bother with charging up the Mega Buster and just really rapid fire him until you can get him down to your level and you're able to shoot him comfortably. This works particularly well since honestly, rapid shot really just eats right through the guy. And now we can go on with the rest of our stage. And now we come to another section with a bit of a splitting path here, which I'll have to show what the other half has on a later video. Kind of a Drill Man Revisited clip, which I'll have to do at a later time. For the most part though, you'll be good as long as you just kind of rapid fire away through the particular section in order to get to the next mini-boss, of all things, Quint. In this case, the pattern has not changed much since the Rockman World games, where he'll basically just jump around and just try to hit you with the assorted degrees from the Psycho Garnet. Now what you really want to do for this particular boss fight is get it so that when you beat him, he's closer to the right side of the screen, for a section that'll become more apparent when I get him there. In this case, I'm really just not firing at him because I want to get it for positioning's sake. But now, 1 second, stuck on that one. Once again, it's another case of someone with a kind of a iffy hitbox. And now with Quint gone, Grand Theft Saku Garnet. Moving on to this temporary power-up stage here, I should just warn you, one other major change the game has made is that jumping has been upgraded to Jumping the Death Machine. Let's see him in action. Okay, maybe next time. Anywho, let's go skip over this one met here that's just doing nothing, and move on to the boss fight with Drillman. Let's see what you can do now. Alright, first thing... Okay, you couldn't do that before. Or that. For sure as hell weren't 3 shots before, especially ones that move that damn fast. Or moving, that's a new one. Fortunately, by the way, in case you'll notice as the video goes on, for the drill missiles that end up going around ground level, they'll just glide until the lowest point, which in this case, if you're standing a bit higher than as I was, you should be able to avoid it very easily. However, if you're standing on the same level, you're kind of screwed unless you make sure to jump in time. Alright, let's try that again. Yes, those drill missiles do move a lot faster than they used to. Also worth mentioning at this point, if he's partially submerged, he'll only shoot a single drill missile which will glide around the ground. However, if he's fully visible, or in this case, his full body you can be seen, he'll shoot 3 of them. One that'll go down the bottom, one all the way up the roof, and of course one that goes straight ahead. Now if there's a particular pattern for how the floor ends up moving back and forth, I don't honestly know what it is. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is a true boost in difficulty. Also because this new pattern and the changing terrain as it goes along really changes the dynamic of the fight, and does make it quite a bit more difficult. In some cases, unless you happen to position yourself very carefully, basically impossible to dodge some shots. Pretty much without fail, I believe every boss in this game has had the pattern change in some form or another in order to give it a more of a added challenge. But once you start getting it down, you should be doing just fine. At least, that's until this happens. You get them down to low enough health. Now there's a new pattern that goes on, or at least a slightly modified version. In Drillman's case, he starts moving a lot faster, and he wasn't exactly moving slow beforehand. On top of that, now the floor, or the ceiling in this case, happens to go up and down. And by the way, if you happen to be there when it goes down, it's an instant death. Okay, Drillman, take 3. Now that we've shown everything, let's take Drillman away for good. Now to give a Cole's note of how this spaz exactly works here, Drillman can do, really, at this point of the fight, 1 of 3 different things. If he fully shows himself, he'll shoot 3 shots. One that goes dead straight, one that'll go upward and then forward, and then one that'll go around ground level. If he's partially submerged, regardless of whether he's in the ground or in the ceiling, he'll shoot a shot straight down that'll glide around the ground to the lowest possible point, and he'll stay at that level. The third thing, and most obvious, he'll just jump up and down in order to change the level he's on. And of course, while this is all going around, the ground level will change multiple times. If there's a pattern to that, once again, I don't know what it is, but it gets irritating after a while. Fortunately, if you happen to be on the ground level and he's in the ceiling, occasionally he'll jump just low enough in order to sneak off a buster shot or 2. And of course, you can hit him while he's in the up or down transition, as well as just standing straight. The fight will start getting a little more interesting as he goes into the desperation mode, which is marked by the change of music as well as his change of color to a more of a greenish tone, in which he'll be able to do a lot of what he was doing beforehand, but he'll be doing it much faster. And of course there'll be the extra attack in the form of sending a piece of the ceiling crashing down, and if you happen to be caught under there, it will kill you in one shot, regardless of how much health you have. If there's a pattern to that one, I don't know what it is. Generally, the more difficult part of this last part will be just dodging all the things that Drillman is throwing at you at this point, and trying to hit him with a couple of return shots of your own, because quite frankly, he moves so much faster now. For the most part, the strategy is once he gets down to his desperation mode, dodge his shots first, then try to return fire. At this point, I'm basically half dead, but so is he, so let's use that E-tank in order to just make sure he gets finished off, because I really don't want to repeat this again, especially when I'm that close. Just to give you a reminder of how the original Drillman fight worked, 1, there was no floor changing, 2, Drillman actually ran back and forth in addition to hiding in the ground, and 3, the amount of drill missiles he fired was just one that went straight ahead and blew up. And while that's been an interesting fight so far, I believe the day's been one for Mega Man, short of last minute crushing ceiling, which won't happen. Mega Man now has Drill Man's weapon and celebratory fare. With the first Robot Master down, we now have a foothold in this particular Romhack. And next time, please join me on the next episode of Retro Ninja Gaming, where we see what other devious changes have been made to this particular game. Thank you very much for watching. See you all next time.